I'm Vi. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be discussing ruling planets and houses in your natal birth chart. So this is my third astrology video. If you're lost, I would suggest going back and watching my Astrology 101 video and then my 12 signs of the Zodiac video. So today we'll be getting into the ruling planets and the houses, like I said. There are 12 houses in your natal birth chart, houses 1 through 12. The Zodiac signs, of course, are 1 through 12 as well, starting with Aries and ending with Pisces. So that means that Aries is most comfortable in the first house, which is house of self, etc, etc, etc. So let's just jump into it. I'm going to start with the ruling planets. So here's how it works. There's 12 houses in your natal birth chart. Each house is ruled by a zodiac sign, and each zodiac sign is ruled by a planet. So I'm going to cover the planets first, and then we'll get into the houses and what they represent. Okay, so there are 7 classical planets slash celestial bodies. Classical because these were the planets and celestial bodies that human beings could see with the naked eye back in the day, and still to this day, if you think about it. Yeah, that's correct, I think. Anywho, the first one is the sun. The sun represents the conscious ego, the self and its expression, personal power, pride and authority, leadership qualities, and principles of creativity, spontaneity, health and vitality, and the sum of which is named the life force. Next up is the moon. The moon represents intuition, emotional makeup, unconscious habits, rhythms, memories, moods, femininity, and their ability to react and adapt to those around them, and like essentially mom energy. Mercury represents communication, mentality, thinking patterns, rationality and reasoning, and adaptability and variability. Next up is Venus. Venus represents harmony, beauty, refinement, affections, love, and the urge to sympathize and unite with others. Next up is Mars. Mars represents aggression, confrontation, energy, strength, ambition, and impulsiveness. And it also represents like your id, so like your most instinctive animal, reptile hindbrain. After Mars is Jupiter. Jupiter represents growth, expansion, healing, prosperity, good fortune, and miracles. After that is Saturn. Saturn represents focus, precision, nobility, ethics, civility, lofty goals, career, great achievements, dedication, authority figures, stability, virtues, productiveness, valuable hard lessons learned, destiny, structures, protective roles, balance, conservation, and karma, reaping what you have sown, or cosmic justice, but with limitations. It also represents restrictions, boundaries, anxieties, tests, practicality, reality, and time. Think like dad energy. That's Saturn. Saturn is big dad energy. So then, after the classical planets are the modern planets, which are Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Uranus represents ingenuity, new or unconventional ideas, individuality, discoveries, electricity, inventions, democracy, and revolutions. After that is Neptune. Neptune represents the collective consciousness, idealism, dreams and fantasies, projections, undoing, dissolution of the status quo, evolution, artistry, empathy, and illusion / confusion / vagueness on the way to discovering universal truths. And then there's Pluto. Pluto represents absolutes, power, extremities, transformations, incredible feats, mass movements, and the need to cooperate or share with another if each is not to be destroyed. Then we get into like the celestial bodies. I use Lilith, Chiron, and the nodes. So Lilith represents the dark feminine energy, primitive impulses and behaviors in their rawest forms. It reveals our repressed sexuality together with what makes us feel most vulnerable. It expresses the dark side of one's personality buried deep in the subconscious realms of our psyche. Chiron represents our biggest wounds and how to heal them, and can also represent potential childhood trauma. The North Node is where the moon's orbit crosses the Earth's orbit around the sun, and it represents one's destiny in a birth chart. The South Node represents past life, or potential past life, if you believe in that sort of thing. I do. So then next is the midheaven. The midheaven is represented by, I think, the letters AC on your birth chart, and that represents like career goals and public life, like where you would best be suited in your career or public life. Part of fortune, it represents prosperity. And then I guess that's it so far for ruling planets and celestial bodies. Next up is the houses. So the houses represent certain aspects of your life. Let me pull it up. I have the chart here that will be able to tell me each thing. So the first house is the house of self. It represents you, your appearance, beginnings, the body, first impressions, attitude, identity, and approach to life. Second house represents money, work, income, daily routines, values, material possessions, priorities, habits, your job, and work ethic. Third house represents the mind, thinking, communication, siblings, social activity, interests, neighbors, and early education. It could also represent like daily commute and your car, vehicles. Fourth house represents home, roots, family, self-care, emotions, foundations, mother, children, women, femininity. Fifth house represents romance, love affairs, play, creativity, fertility, childlike spirit, joy, self-expression, and potential drama. Sixth house represents health, fitness, systems, analytical nature, pets, work habits, organization, sense of usefulness, and service given. Seventh house represents relationships, marriage, contracts, business partners, equality, sharing, and interpersonal style. Eighth house represents merging, sex, intimacy, shared finances, inheritances, taxes, loans, assets, property, joint ventures / goals, mystery, and partners' resources, so other people's money. Ninth house represents travel, wisdom, philosophy, higher education, law and religion, cross-cultural relations, learning, and ethics. 10th house represents career, long-term goals, structure, status, reputation, public image, masculinity, men, fathers, experts, and fame. 11th house represents groups, friends, social awareness, humanitarianism, technology, hopes and wishes in the future. It can also represent like social media, the internet. And lastly, the 12th house represents endings, healing, closure, spirituality, solitude, karma, old age, afterlife, what's hidden, limiting beliefs, the subconscious. It can also represent fears and mental health. So those are the 12 houses and what they represent. Now we're going to get into who rules what. So first house, house of self, is ruled by Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars. That's where those placements are most comfortable. Second house of money is ruled by Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. Third house of communication is ruled by Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. Fourth house of home and family is ruled by Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. Fifth house of pleasures and hobbies is ruled by Leo, which is ruled by the sun. Sixth house of health and work environment is ruled by Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury. Seventh house of partnerships is ruled by Libra, which is ruled by Venus. Eighth house of death, rebirth, transformation, and other people's assets is ruled by Scorpio, which is ruled by Mars or Pluto, depending on which planets you're using, which, like, if you're using classical versus modern. Ninth house of philosophy, higher education, and world travel is ruled by Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. 10th house of career is ruled by Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. 11th house of friendships, networks, social media, and the internet is ruled by Aquarius, which is ruled by Saturn or Uranus. And the 12th house of fears, undoing, and mental health is ruled by Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter or Neptune. So like I said, first house is where Aries is most comfortable, which is ruled by Mars. However, not everyone's birth charts, like their first house is not going to be ruled by Aries unless your ascendant is Aries. Your first house is ruled by your ascendant sign, which is, if you remember in my previous video, your ascendant sign is the most you sign. So there's that. But yeah, now that you know, like, all of the basics, like the little, you know how on charts and maps and stuff, there's like the little legend and whatever color and whatever symbol represents whatever. I've given you 3 legends. So now all there is to do is to apply that to your natal birth chart. I suppose I can use my birth chart as an example and just expose myself to all those who already know how to read this shit, but you know, working with what I got, right? So let's see here. Let me pull up my birth chart. It's gonna look like this. Okay, so my ascendant sign is Scorpio, which means Scorpio rules my first house of self. The ascendant sign is, going back to the analogy of the sundae, the ascendant sign is the sauce that you put on your sundae, the toppings, the sprinkles. It's the first thing that people see. It's like first impressions, what people first think about you upon seeing you, what you project to the world, and honestly how you view the world. It's like the lens in which you view the world. When you're looking at your natal birth chart, use the 12 zodiac signs that rule your houses as lenses. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, they're lenses. It's like, just use them as archetypes, just use them as lenses that pertain to this particular part of your life. However, these energies are not confined to their placement. Things will bleed into each other. For example, your ascendant sign, well, your sun sign and your ascendant sign, your sun represents like personality, your likes and dislikes, yourself, your ego, self-expression, right? That bleeds into how you present yourself to the world. So your ascendant sign, and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's just an example. Preponderance of evidence, y'all. Like, you got to take into consideration everything. If you start researching, like, for example, my Mars is in the 5th house. That's ruled by Pisces, but Mars itself is actually in Aries. If you look at my chart, so those things have different meanings. So you're gonna have to look up, you know, what does 5th house ruled by Pisces mean? What does Aries in the 5th house mean? What does Aries, I mean, not Aries in the 5th house. What does Mars in the 5th house means? What does Mars in Aries means? Just from that one placement, you can find like 3 different things to research. And I'm not going to be able to give you all of that. I can send you over to Astro Finesse's channel, where he breaks down like planet placements and all that stuff in the different houses and in the different signs, and you can go over there and check that out. But again, though, that like just the Mars and Aries placement, what was I gonna say? Oh, they're just the Mars and Aries placement, that in and of itself is an archetype, because it doesn't take into consideration the rest of your chart. So if you're going to be doing this deep dive in yourself, if something doesn't resonate, it's because something else in your chart is tempering that placement and that energy. Does that make any sense? I hope that makes sense. For example, a lot of people like for love, people that turn to astrology like want to find out what their love life is going to be like, or what's destined in love for you, or career and all that stuff. So the placements that you want to focus on is your Venus and your Mars. So I am a woman that is attracted to men. My Venus will tell me what I'm looking for in a relationship, and my Mars will tell me the kind of guy that I'm into. So yeah, my Venus is in Taurus. Which is, Taurus is ruled by Venus, so that's a very comfortable placement. And lo and behold, my Mars is in Aries, which is also another comfortable placement for Mars. So they're both exalted in those signs. So what I'm looking for in a relationship is stability. And I want to be romanced. Like, I want my senses to be like just immersed in love, right? So like Taurus is a very sensual sign. It's very like all five senses. Taurus likes to be comfortable. So like, you know, taste, touch, smell, like audio, hearing, all that. Taurus loves to indulge in that. And that's what I'm looking for in love, according to my chart, according to my Venus. And I'm like, that's pretty spot on, I'm not gonna lie. So Mars represents like sex aggression. And since my Mars is in Aries, it's exalted in Aries, and that conflicts with my Venus in Taurus, because Taurus, when it comes to love, is slow and steady, likes a lot of foreplay, yada yada yada, which is nice. I'm not gonna lie, you know, that's great. However, eventually down the line, you know, my Mars and Aries will kick in and I'm like, okay, let's get to the finish line here. Like, get mad. Venus rules love, harmony, money, value, beauty. So yeah, that also indicates like my love of spending. Like, I love when I go shopping, if it's good quality, I'm not afraid to drop money on something that's good quality and that will last me a long time. So that, do you see where I'm going with this? Like, that you can kind of see bits of yourself in these placements, and some will resonate more than others. Again, like I said, because each thing that you're going to look up, each placement that you're going to look up is only for that one placement. So like the zodiac signs, use them as touchstones because it does not take into account the rest of your chart when you're looking up certain placements. Okay, just throwing that out there. But this is where I leave you. I mean, because unless I see somebody's chart and unless they ask me a question about like, oh, should I do, I can't give much advice until I see that. So, but another thing in your chart, all these lines, those aspects, as we call them in astrology, I have no fucking idea. I don't know. This is as far as I know, as far as this kind of thing goes. I know the placements. I know what everything represents. I know, you know, the meanings of like each planet, the houses, the signs, what they all mean, and like the combinations of all that stuff. But aspects and cusps and like degrees and all that, I'm like, that's like advanced level. I'm like at maybe intermediate level. So that's all I have for you on that. But I guess I could spill a little more tea on myself, I suppose. Let's see, what's juicy? You know, my sun is in Gemini. So that's my, like I said, my core, my personality, my likes and dislikes. My rising is in my rising sign is Scorpio, which is how I present myself to the world, and which, I mean, checks out. Scorpio represents like, Scorpio is like the darkest of the zodiac signs. It's very secretive, it's very mysterious. Like, it rules over the occult, the supernatural, death and rebirth, transformation, other people's money, taxes, loans, all that. I mean, I fucking went to school, well, the second time, for my job. I went to school for accounting and taxes because that shit interests me. Like, I'm into true crime. Like, just, y'all, look at how I dress. Like, I'm very extra and very kind of like creative dark, I guess you can call me, because yeah, yeah. If you pegged me as a Scorpio rising, you would be correct. Let's just say it that way. And I'm doing like YouTube stuff on astrology, and astrology falls into probably Scorpio's domain in the 8th house. So there's that. Libra, my Libra is in, well, my moon is in Libra. Which is how you process things, the hidden side of yourself, the self that, the side of you that people might not see immediately once they meet you. It might take a while for this side to come out. The side tends to come out in like times of crisis or moral dilemma. It's just like, okay, you are in this situation, how do you go about getting yourself out, or where does your mind immediately go, or what lens, which lens of the 12 zodiac do you know, process things, like which sign comes out first, and mine is Libra, which is, Libra is represented by the scales, like weighing options, listening to both sides of the story, playing devil's advocate. That's also a Gemini trait too, and Gemini is my sun sign. So, but yeah, Libras can also be, like people pleasers and pushovers. That type of energy doesn't come out as much in me because I feel like, because my rising sign is Scorpio, so there is an example of where like traits can be tempered. And when you're reading through the archetypes of the signs, like if something doesn't resonate with you, you know, for your sign, it's probably because somewhere in your chart that energy is tempered. So it's a lot of like I said, preponderance of evidence. This is not exact. This is just a guide. Like I said, you are not bound to astrology. Like, it's not end all be all. Astrology doesn't cause things to happen. It just reflects things that can or will happen. Remember that. So this is just to help you if you happen to be stuck and you don't know where to turn to. It's just like, it's a quick, fun way to be like, okay, well, the stars say this, let me try this. It's just to give you options. So what else? Oh, do you want to dive into childhood traumas? My Chiron is in the 9th house, and it's also in Cancer. So what that means is that 9th house is house of philosophy, of higher learning, college, world travel, stuff like that. And Cancer is the crab. Cancer is emotional, moody, like the romantic, yeah. So my trauma, according to my birth chart, deals with college and home life, right? I'm not gonna sit here and say that like I had a shitty childhood or whatever. Like, my childhood was pretty normal, and honestly, this trauma that my chart is indicating to didn't really happen in my childhood so much. It did like my teenage years in college, because 9th house deals with higher education and college and all that, higher learning and stuff. Well, I guess if you think about it, considering my background, my parents wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer because, not to fall into the stereotype, but it's kind of true. Luckily, my parents weren't dragon parents or tiger parents. They just wanted me to be happy, and just like, I remember in elementary school and high school, they wanted me to be a straight A student, and I was, because school was easy for me in a sense. And well, and then I kind of stopped caring a little in senior year, but I still did very well. So I guess you can consider that trauma because of that pressure. I know that my brother didn't do as well as me, and there was a lot of drama about that. But yeah, I mean, again, like I said, I'm still learning about this stuff. I know enough to get by, and perhaps to help other people that have no idea what they're doing. But I would suggest looking, now that you have the tools, now that I gave you the legends, the 3 legends, what the planets mean, what the signs mean, and what the houses mean, and that the signs are archetypes. They're to be used as touchstones. When you go and research this stuff, like, it's going to be easier to be like, oh, okay, this means this, da-da-da-da. So, yeah, I guess Chiron and Cancer would indicate that I would have some kind of trauma or deep wound that has something to do with like roots and family and stuff. And I mean, that's, to be honest, that's kind of what's going on now. I thought I was gonna be okay living at home forever. I didn't mind because it was just me and my mother, but you know, turns out I need my own space. So I'm in the middle of all that now. So Chiron is not necessarily childhood trauma. It's just kind of deep wounds and trauma that may pop up and be a hindrance, like now, for example. But yeah, I mean, but on the flip side, like my Jupiter, which is good luck expansion, is also in Cancer. It falls under Cancer in my 8th house, which is other people's money, property, you know, taxes and loans and all that stuff. So that might be changing for me soon. Which is very exciting. And then I can settle and, you know, put down my own roots, right? So maybe Jupiter will help me get over Chiron in my birth chart. Let's see, what else? What else can I spill about myself? My Mercury is in Taurus. Which means that I guess I like to communicate in a certain way. I do things on my own time. But my sun is in Gemini, so I do things on my own time, but it tends to be very quick. Gemini, my sun is in Gemini, so I got a short attention span. Like, I get bored easy. It's like go, 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 constantly, like, on to the next thing. I can't start something and not finish it. This probably has something to do with my Mercury in Taurus. Let's see, what else? My midheaven is in Leo, which, let's see, yeah, my midheaven is in Leo, which is in my 10th house. Career is in Leo, so like I would do well in, like, I guess as a head honcho, as a boss, in public service of some sort, like somewhere where like that indicates that I would do well, like, with the spotlight on me. And under pressure, yeah, but honestly, with my Scorpio rising, I would rather be, you know, Shadow King or Shadow Queen in the back, like helping run the things behind the scenes, and not be the figurehead. I'd rather be the shadow of the figurehead, you know what I mean? But if push comes to shove, then yeah, I can definitely step up and be boss. But yeah, according to my birth chart, I would do well where I would be, like, I would do well if I was in charge of myself. However, I would say this, again, my sun is in Gemini, so my brain is, like, scattered and, like, constantly going all over the place. My current job now, I work at a desk job, to put it simply, and I'm comfortable. Like, my job, I can do work for 8 hours, come home, and not have to think about work. But recently, I'm just kind of feeling stagnant again. You know, the reason why I got into astrology and, like, diving into spirituality a little closely is because I felt my life was stagnant. Yeah, I have a roof over my head. You know, I have a good job, I have food in my belly, but, like, it's just something felt missing. So I took that as a sign, and luckily, you know, I did something about it, which is somehow, like, doing that got me here on YouTube. which is crazy to me, because if you were to ask me a couple years ago like about doing YouTube, I'd be like, no. Again, because Scorpio rising, like this, the scorpion being armored, being like very, you know, putting the walls up, being sheltering in your own, you know, armor with the stinger ready. Yeah, sounds about right. However, I'm a lot nicer about it because I have than other Scorpio energies, because or like, for example, like a Scorpio sun, I'm a lot nicer than a Scorpio sun because I have Gemini and Libra to tamp that down a little bit. Though Scorpio does have its moments, comes out in fun ways, it manifests in fun ways. So yeah, I guess another thing to note is that the modern planets, like from Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, that group, because they're so far out in the solar system, they're considered generational planets. So you'll have people that will have like the same Uranus, Neptune, Pluto placements because they move so slow and their circumference is so large that it takes them forever to like go into another sign. So that's another reason why like certain signs are ruled by like just one planet. So for example, Libra and Libra and Taurus are ruled by Venus. Virgo and Gemini are ruled by Mercury, you know, that's why. Scorpio and Aries is ruled by Mars. That's yeah. So on your journey, when you're researching this stuff, if you see that, that's the reason. Like, because the 7 classical planets are the planets that people can see with the naked eye when they're visible in the sky. So yeah, you have to double that shit up, I guess. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about ruling planets and houses and how to use astrology. I hope this helps. If you have a question, just let me know. I could probably, if you can get me an accurate birth chart or just an accurate ascendant sign, I could probably just tell you, you know, like what, you know, a placement might mean, and send you on your way to the correct video that could explain a little further, like Astro Finesse can do, because that's where I went. I went to Astro Finesse's YouTube channel to look up like what Taurus, what Mercury in Taurus meant, what Mercury in the 6th house meant, you know, and just put it together. Because certain things like if, for example, yeah, my Mars is in Aries, but my Mars is also in the 5th house. Those are 2 separate videos. But Mars in Aries energy and Mars in the 1st house would share the same description. If you go to Astro Finesse's site, you can kind of see. Like, again, for example, Venus in Taurus and Venus in the 3rd house would have the same energy, because Taurus rules the 3rd house. You know, it's comfortable in the 3rd house. It's its standard placement. You know what I mean? So that's why that's like the same kind of energy for those 2 different placements. But yeah, let me know like how your journey with astrology is going, if you're on a journey. Let me know what else you want to see. I hope this helps. If anything, if not, I hope it was entertaining. But thank you for coming on this journey with me. I'm gonna leave this astrology series here. I don't know if I have the attention span to go into each placement in each sign in each house. I'm just like, there are other YouTubers, again, like Astro Finesse, like Astro Kit. Those are good channels to follow. I'll leave the link down in the descriptions for both YouTube channels. That's it for now. Thank you for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe, ring your notification bell and set it to all so you don't miss any of my videos when I post them up. And until next time, joop joop.